Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Tina from tinaheals.com, and this video is quite interesting because I've heard tons of stuff about it, and yet there is not much online about it. Because when you study astrology, you hear astrology students talk about the 12th house. You read books and they always say that the 12th house is the most mysterious house, the house that we really don't know much about, and we cannot put words to find meaning because it is all the realm of the subconscious and the unconscious. Okay, so this video will explain to you how the 12th house deals with hidden enemies. Okay, so now oftentimes the 12th house is also called the house of our own undoing or self-sabotage. That means that this house can tell us about how we are being our own worst enemy. Yes, it is true. Most of us, we are our own worst enemies, and we don't know that. We play the blame game because it is always easier to blame an external force or an individual or a situation, but it is very difficult to take responsibility. At the end of the day, to me, the 12th house is about taking authorship or taking responsibility. So, enemies in the 12th house. Now, sometimes these enemies are, of course, conscious people, people who are jealous of you, people who hate you, people who want your man or woman. There are these conscious enemies, but there are also unconscious enemies, people around us, friends, colleagues, who do not understand how to deal with us or our emotions or our feelings or our spirituality, and they become toxic influences to us. Okay, and this can be very detrimental to a strong 12th houser. Okay, so sometimes the enemies are conscious and sometimes you're unconscious, and sometimes it is us. Okay, we've got to take authorship about that. So the sign of the 12th house is oftentimes it is said that the sign, okay, the 12th house sign for me it's Leo. So the sign can sometimes represent the sun or the moon or the ascendant of your enemy. For instance, I have a 12th house Leo. Okay, my 12th house is Leo, and I have a stellium in my 12th house. So for me, my enemy could be a Leo, sun, moon, or ascendant. Of course, this is a reductionist reading and oversimplification, but it's interesting, and I have found correlations to this actually. So now the 12th house, think of, for me, because it's Leo, I have a very dominant creative impulse with my 12th house, which is the house of spirituality ultimately. Okay, so you have to also see the ruler of the 12th house. For me it's Leo, so I have to see the placement of the sun in my natal chart, and for me that is also in Leo in my 12th house. So I have sun in rulership on 0 degrees in my 12th house. So that sort of starts to piece the story together, and then you have to see aspects and dispositions and many other things, and then you'll get the true story of your 12th house. Now with this heavy 12th houses, the enemies often use spiritual dark forces, curses, spells that bind you, bad intentions, malevolent intentions, malevolent actions towards you. Okay, and this is dark spiritual stuff. Okay, and this can influence you if you're a heavy 12th houser. Let us understand the 12th house in its basic components. Okay, what is the 12th house? It rules very deep things. It is Pisces in the zodiac, the natural zodiac. Ruler is Neptune, that dissolves all things. So 12th house, the ruler of the 12th house is Neptune, which is dissolving. Okay, unconscious fears. We spoke about the unconscious and the subconscious and how important a role it plays with your 12th house planets. Fears, all kinds of fears, unconscious, conscious fears. Okay, it can it can symbolize secluded places. Okay, it can also symbolize places of incarceration. If you study the natal charts of prisoners, inmates, prison inmates, and if you study the natal chart of monks, you will see a heavy 12th house in both. And 12th house is the house of incarceration. But the monk is not incarcerated. He chooses to live in a place of seclusion on his own volition. He has chosen to be secluded from society, whereas the criminal has been forced to be isolated and confined. So both the 12 houses are confined. But one, if it's easy, if it's a will to do 12th house, then the confinement comes off from your own sacred understanding. You don't have to be forced and confined. Okay, you don't have to be a prisoner. It also, as I said, incarceration, prison, jail, and all that. Big animals. Wildlife is ruled by the 12th house. Many people don't know it. Oils, alcohol, you know that. Dangers of all sorts, unfortunate events, and problems to your feet. The ruler of the 12th house is connected to your feet because Pisces rules feet. So having a problematic 12th house could mean problems with your feet. Okay. Flat foot or not positioned correctly, thereby compromising your whole gait. That is something to look at. Okay, if you have a 12th house heavy, and if you're facing challenges to the way you walk, your posture, because the way your feet are placed determines your whole posture. Okay, so it also speaks of limitations. Okay, and self-sabotage, which I explained to you. You can be your worst enemy. And past life information. 12th house heavies love, past life regression and work like that, and dream therapy and dream work and all of that. So you're very connected to your past life. Okay, I have my Ketu, and Ketu is very connected to your past life. So I have my Ketu in my 7th house in Pisces. Pisces, 12 signs. So the 12th house ruler is Pisces. So very interesting. And Ketu and the 12th house actually speak of your past lives. Very interesting. It also speaks of the spiritual debt you owe, and the spiritual debt that is owed to you. Okay, it's a double-edged sword, this one. Make no mistake. If you are really looking at developing this, develop your spirituality, because your mystical yearnings, because the 12th house actually also will tell you how you develop spiritually, how you develop with your psychic powers. And always remember, the monk and the inmate, they don't have much in common, but they are secluded, isolated. I stay pretty much isolated with my animals and my work and my videos, and I'm a very heavy 12th houser. So if you like that video as much as I like making it for you, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Thank you.